of leads us into what this podcast is going to be about, is your job. And so you're a plumber, from what I understand, right?
Yep.
Nice. How long you been doing that?
I am currently finishing up my 6th year, going on my 7th.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. How'd you get started?
It's been a long time. Well, it actually kind of fell right into my hands. Wasn't actively seeking the job at all. My dad used to work on the oil rigs, and when they had a big layoff back in, I think it was 2015, 2016, around somewhere around in there, he decided to start up his own plumbing business. He'd been doing it for a long time on the side, and he did it before he joined the oil rig. And it was being my junior summer when I was still in high school. I just decided to help him out. And my senior year, I only took 2 classes, so I was pretty much free all day. So I just started working with him, and kind of just all fell into place from there.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, that's a long time to be doing something. So I think Tad and I both appreciate that. We've been doing what we're doing for a long time.
Yeah,
it's definitely nice to have some consistency.
Yeah, and it takes it takes some interest in actually what you're doing to do it for that long. So kind of feels good to know that you're doing something that you're actually learning some things and you're progressing in a way that's not just kind of stagnant, because usually jobs you stay at for a year, 2 or 3, it just seems like you plateau at some point. And I feel like a plumber, you could learn something new every year for 20 years, because there's a lot that goes into that. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's 100% true. It's from code to everything else we're learning. It's always changing, always new things.
Yeah, man. And you want to discuss an average day on the job that you have, maybe the differences in seasons, the different jobs that you're doing. You just give us a little, background in that.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on job, because we as a company kind of do a couple things. We do plumbing, gas, and hydronics. So it kind of depends on what we're doing for the client. Sometimes it can include all 3. That varies. As of lately, we've been doing just a lot of plumbing, gas projects. So typically what that calls for is we'll go through and we'll lay out with the contractor what they're kind of thinking. And from there, we'll just go and we call, so there's 3 kind of phases. There's undergrounds, where we'll go and dig in your main sewer, which connects to your septic and all that such. And then from there, we go into what's called rough-in phase, which a lot of people call it that. And that's where we're drilling out, we're stubbing pipe, we're putting your vents through your roof, we're kind of putting everything prepped for cabinets and getting your water stubbed and prepped. So it's kind of a little hectic in kind of the plumbing world sometimes, because you got so much going on. So like my dad, typically he'll do like the sewer stuff, and I'll do the water systems.
Okay.
What were the 3 things you said? The 3 categories? It was gas, plumbing, and
we do plumbing, gas, and hydronic heating.
Hydronic heating. Could you maybe just explain what that is? Because I kind of know, but I could use an explanation.
Yep. So hydronic heating is floor heating. It's pretty much just tubes that run through your floor. It doesn't really preference, like you can have tile, hardwood. It doesn't really matter in that sense. But it's just plastic tube that runs glycol through it, and that glycol is being heated through a boiler system, and it'll heat from the floor up.
Okay, cool. So then, if you do have that kind of heat, does that supplement for all your heat, or do you have that in addition to like heat vents and air?
So that kind of depends on the homeowner. For example, like we just did a job, they have furnace heat and hydronic heat. So that way, if the hydronics aren't keeping up with what they're wanting, they'll turn on their furnaces and get things rolling to where they'll have air blowing.
Okay.
So that kind of depends on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, hydronic is it's a good enough heat that it will heat up your whole home.
So you can have solely hydronic heat, and that's sufficient to heat all winter, huh?
Oh yeah.
Nice. Do you
And
guys?
the benefits of it is, oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you do driveways too. I know people do heated driveways, and you don't have to shovel, but I don't know
We
if
do.
that.
We do, and they're just called ice melts. And typically, what those are, it will be about anywhere from like 10 to 30 feet out from like where your garage is, and just from where like you'll at standardly park your vehicles, so that way things are always free. Like if your vehicle's warm and leaking water, like middle of winter or something, because you've been driving it a bunch, that stuff will just continue to thaw off, and
Nice.
it
Yeah,
just kind of keeps like the main zones clean.
prevents it from becoming like an ice rink when you're getting in and out of your car, probably, huh?
Exactly.
It's a nice
Nice.
heating. I have it in the places out here in Red Lodge. They have it.
Cool.
Yeah.
It feels good for your feet. It's good on the
Oh
muscles.
yeah.
Nice, dude. Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to go into that a little bit, but you were saying you do all three of those. Your dad usually does the plumbing, and you do more of the water stuff, or the
Yeah,
sewer
so like
and.
I'll typically focus on the water systems. Um, Mainly because that's one of the first things I learned and was pretty good at right off the gate. So I was able just to kind of run with it. Well, he was able to kind of do the plumbing. They're relatively similar, other than you got a slope plumbing versus water lines. You got pressure behind it, so you don't really got to follow sloping a lot of things.
Ah, so plumbing's mostly just gravity based.
A, lo- a lot of it, minus like I said, like the hydronic and gas stuff. Almost all, like we have a saying in the plumbing world is shit rolls downhill and paydays on Fridays.
It's a good
That's a
one.
good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about a quarter per foot on average is what you want your slope to be.
Hmm.
Okay. A
That's
quarter of a degree.
So yeah, like if you were to put a level on it, it's just like a quarter, or like on a measuring tape, anything like that. You just want it to be sloping per foot. So like what we do is we'll measure every 4 feet, and every 4 feet we just add an inch. So let's say we're doing like how I told you about the undergrounds. So what those are is we'll typically be digging in for your septic, and if you have a basement, there's typically sewer and like bathrooms. A lot of people do their mechanical rooms in a basement if they make like decide to build that way.
Nice.
Um,
Are you
so
guys
we'll pretty much
doing
prep
mostly
everything there.
are you guys doing mostly new builds, or are you guys doing a lot of already existing?
So as of the last few years, we've been doing vast majority new builds, plus upkeep on all the stuff that we have worked on in the past.
that's
Nice.
cool.
But yeah, for the most part, we kind of stay new.
So what was the learning curve for you? You've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. Um, did it take a while to catch on? Did you catch it on quick? Working with your dad, things like that. It might be nice to have him as a teacher. Because you guys know each other so well. So just tell us a little bit about that.
So I'll say that's probably a tough point, because I'd say yeah, it's a great teacher because you're definitely able, I think, to learn from somebody you're close with a lot easier than some stranger.
Hmm.
So I definitely think that helped. But being dad and son duo, it's just me and him.
Yeah,
It's a lot of button heads. It really is, and we put it together when we can, and we try and just work it out, because you got to remember that even though we're family, work's work and home's home. So you got to kind of separate it there.
totally.
I'd say the biggest learning curves would have to be like I'm very hands-on learning, and my dad's very much of he'll just tell me what he wants done when I was first learning, and want me to go and just get it done and do it exactly how he just told me. And so I'd say a lot of it was like I kind of had to watch it first. I had to watch it a couple times and kind of experiment a couple times before I started getting comfortable enough to where if I got kind of yelled at to go and do something, I was able to go and do it by myself.
Totally.
It started out a lot of babysitting on my end. Like everything I do, I'd have him quadruple check it and make sure I was doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of people who probably couldn't work for their parents, but your dad is pretty laid back most of the time, it seems like. So he seems like somebody who could make the relationship work while working with him too. So
Oh, most definitely. And that's one thing I'll be thankful for is it's nice to a lot of people might complain about working in a family business, but it really is nice being able to be close to my dad. And for the last 7 years, it's just been, one-on-one time most of the time and just working together. It's brought us a lot closer.
That's cool, man.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
You know,
that's awesome.
talking about that, it kind of leads us into your schooling. What's you want to discuss? Did you have to do schooling for being a plumber? And you know,
So currently I actually haven't went on my journeyman's. I have all of my hours done, so I just need to take the online course, which is about 2 to 3 years, depending on kind of how my speed on it. Like if I can kind of breeze through it, it'll be about 2 years. If not, it'll be about three. But it kind of depends. So like with plumbing, it's kind of cool. You can work under a lot of companies as long as somebody else is a journeyman. So let's say the company man, like your big guy on campus or whatever you want to call it, he's a journeyman. You can work under him. You don't technically have to have the schooling. As long as you have the knowledge to do it all, you don't have to go to school for it. Um, it also depends on county and state a little bit. Like for example, here in Wyoming, the state itself doesn't require plumbing journeymans, but certain municipals, so like Jackson Hole, like Teton County, they require it. But Star Valley, Cameron, like certain other areas like that, like they don't require you to have all the information, like all the I guess journeyman's requirements like to meet there. So I've yet to do that. I've learned everything on the job for the last 7 years. I wouldn't say skimp on the journeymans. It's definitely a smart thing to do because it can lead you into a lot of other paths with plumbing. Because there's other than just residential, there's irrigation systems. There's a lot of things plumbing can kind of lead you into with water and
totally. And are you thinking about doing that? Are you going to hold off?
most definitely. Where at this point, I originally started working as a plumber to have a kind of a backup. And the more I've done it, the more I've learned about it. And it's actually, I enjoy it quite a bit, the new side of construction of things. And I think it would be more beneficial that I want to start it.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to be starting it this summer.
sounds like a good idea.
The code's like way different, the between different jobs other than minus the gas. Like my dad, he's certified in gas. So like you have to be certified to be able to run that and be able to buy gas product. You have to minus like RV hookups and things like that. If you wanted to actually run your own gas pipe through your house, you'd have to be certified.
Okay.
So I'd say there's things that you have to have in Wyoming and there's other things that are kind of like it kind of just depends that you'd have to look at your local region to figure out. But for the most part, as long as like if you wanted to get into it, you could just work under somebody to kind of see and get a good feel, and for the most part, start an apprenticeship from there.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It seems like a little bit easier method of getting your foot in the door than some of these other trades. So that's good to know.
Exactly.
And good money.
Th- yeah, that kind of leads us right into the next one. Do you have any advice or any tips on becoming a plumber for anybody who's kind of interested in learning the trade?
Oh, most definitely. Like, so there's a good handful of things. Like for a good common one that a lot of people probably think of is it can definitely be a gross thing. It's when sewer fails and stuff like that, it's not always butterflies and cupcakes kind of thing. So you got to remember that, when things kind of do get gross and kind of in those things, to try and stay positive with it because, a lot of people, they kind of tensions get high when they're cut into a sewer pipe and they have gross juices leaking out of the sewer pipe that they don't want on them and they're wanting things done quick, so they're yelling at you to grab things and get things done kind of stuff. And so you just got to remember that it's certain things aren't directed at you just got to kind of stay positive depending on the situation. um Two other good big things is don't glue things until you're ready, which follows into my third thing is it's kind of like a big puzzle. You don't want to just piece it all together, glue it all together, and all of a sudden find out you accidentally put the wrong pieces where they were, and you're glued up and have to cut it all out and restart.
Hmm.
So a lot of it is you want to start fitting. Like put all your pieces together and make sure they're going to work out, because you can pull them apart just as easy as you can put them together. And just kind of think of it as a puzzle, like I said. And once you start thinking of it that way and working in it one direction, like, hey, this side's going really easy, work from that way onward, things will go really smoothly.
Nice. Yeah, from the last interview we did, it seems like a good amount of the job is just relationships with the people you're working for, the houses or the buildings that you're doing the plumbing or the gas for. You got to kind of have communication and
Absolutely.
good relations, and that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
With the other contractors, electricians,
Yeah, like,
everything, all of them.
Yeah.
yeah, that's like 60% of the job is we're communicating. Like for us, we communicate. So we're typically before electricians, HVAC and stuff, because we're trying to get in gas. Like HVAC can run gas for the most part. A lot of HVAC companies do. But it's like if we're doing gas, we want to, and water and everything, we want to get in before everybody, so that way we can kind of have the easy go ahead, is what we call it. It doesn't always work out that way, and so that's when yeah, you got to kind of be able to talk and be like, hey, are you guys okay with moving certain things, or what
Mhm.
do you think we can do to work around you, so that way we can get past to get to the room we're going to. And our job is a lot of working with everybody. We work with a lot of excavating companies that put in the septics, because we don't touch the outside stuff. That's all contracted to other
Hmm.
companies.
Oh,
But we have to communicate with them, because our pipes are what's connecting to theirs. So we have to make sure we have the right depths, the right place that they're wanting to sink their septic into, and
so you're just
it's a lot
under
of
the
prep for
roof.
other people.
You don't go like into the yard, or you don't do any of the hookups. You're just kind of under the roof of the house mostly.
Yep. So yeah, we'll do the whole entire house, everything including in there, and then the moment, no different with gas, same with that way. We'll do everything in the house, but when it comes to like, so like outside, a lot of that is high pressure. We work with low pressure gas.
Okay.
And so that's why a lot of people call propane companies and get all that hooked up. And then we just don't have the equipment and all that to dig in septic systems and do all that. So
Mhm.
we typically have a couple people we recommend that we have called out.
You do natural gas and propane, or?
Yep. So that kind of depends. Again, around here, we've only done natural gas a handful of times. And that's mainly depending on area that it's convenience to get it and whatnot.
Yeah,
A lot of that doesn't really change.
Hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
But
that natural gas might have a little bit harder time accessing it because it, the propane guy, you have a big tank, he comes around and fills it up, but natural gas is just kind of always flowing, and I'm not sure,
mhm.
the accessibility in the valley might be kind of tough to come by, it sounds like.
So it's definitely, natural gas is a little more price. It's not like much more pricey than propane, but it is a little bit more. It's just energy that you're saving in long term. Is one's a little bit more energy saving and the other one isn't.
Okay.
We do like, we convert everything. So like if we put in stoves, or if they put in an outside grill or things like that, we'll put in conversion kits to, depending on if they went propane or natural gas.
Okay, cool.
It's a lot of natural gas up in Red Lodge.
Is
Yeah,
there?
I work at a
Um,
greenhouse, and we heat 100 frames, and they're all heated with natural gas too. So I just kind of was interested in that.
I prefer natural gas. It's the only thing that is, you just can't smell it, is the only main thing. Other than that, it's a lot. I think it's a little better than propane, but propane's a little cheaper and more accessible to a lot of people, and
Nice.
that's what makes it nice.
um, kind of leading into this next question, I was one of the houses I'm on. So I live on. There's two properties, and I caretake them both, and then I live on one of them. And I can't quite remember exactly what the issue was, but I'm down in the crawl space with another plumber, and they had there's a sump pump in there because sometimes the water gets too high on the water levels, so but the people who set it up before, they when they bought the house, the hose goes through into the septic, and so It was just so gross, and it got backed up and nasty. And we're pulling out like 50 feet of garden hose from this that goes into the septic, and just getting big old garbage cans, and the shit is just coming out, and it was just so gross, man.
Damn, dude, that is shitty.
Yeah, it was a that
Literally.
was a fun, that was a great learning experience. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, any lift pump failure is
oh
awful.
man. What is one of the worst experiences you've had? Plumbing difficulty.
So, I definitely have a few. I have a few. I'll give you a couple gross ones and a couple funny ones. How about
Perfect. Hell yeah.
that? So, like I said before, like any lift pump or sewer failure is almost always going to result in a gross fix. It's kind of rare when a sewer failure happens that it's not going to kind of be a little bit nasty. Um, so one of our good gross ones is we were working on one job and we were going through and having to, so we call it snaking, and what that is we essentially have, it's this big tool that runs a coil down your drains. You can do it down a toilet or down a drain, and it'll go through all the way through to your septic tank. So that way if things are clogged, it'll push it out to your septic. That way it cleans up your house system wise. Well, one day we were cleaning it out, and it actually has nothing to do with plumbing. The house smell had the weirdest funk to it, and we kept wondering what the heck was going on, and just trying to ignore it. We finished up the job, and the homeowner was freaking out because they weren't sure why their house was smelling the way it was, and they were renting and called their landlord to come and check some things out. So we were still there. Well, we were cleaning up our stuff. We'd finished up our end of it, and the landlord came and decided to remove the stove. And the homeowner's boa constrictor decided he was too cold in his tank or something, and crawled behind the stove, and the electrical wasn't all the way hooked up. And he had been sitting in the back frying the entire time we were snaking the drain out. So
Was he still alive?
that one was no, absolutely, he was a charred piece of snake.
He was toasted, bro.
Or
Good
I'll tell you what,
snake
that's a
kernel.
weird smell to you.
I bet. That's wild.
Um, I've been sprayed by a skunk having to work in
Oh wait,
manholes.
I had a quick question about the
Uh,
snake. Can you snake
go
something
for it.
that's not hooked up to a septic system? Like if you're hooked up to, say, like city water or city sewer, can you still
So
snake stuff or?
you absolutely can. So the first thing what you'll do is, depending on where you're at. So if you're in an apartment complex or something like that on city, we'll first try your place. And if that doesn't solve the issue, because typically our snake's about 100 feet long, and for most homes that'll bring you to your septic plus some. But like in apartments where they're mostly stacked, it kind of, you won't be able to get all the way to your city sewer, like where it kind of flows freely.
Okay.
So like let's say we were to, like my apartment, I'm on the second floor. Let's say we were to snake it, but we couldn't fix the problem. We would have to contact the lower resident below you and snake their drain because it's a problem lower in the pipes. So it's kind of different when it comes to like apartments and stuff, but like with your house and stuff, it's pretty basic. It's the same thing as a septic. So like what we work with is like at max like 4 to 5 inch pipe for sewer, and but when you go out to city, it goes up to like anywhere from 8 inch to 12 inch. I mean, it's big drainage pipes.
Dang.
So once you kind of push through to that, it's no different than a septic. You just want to kind of push all that stuff out to it, so that way it can just drain out evenly.
It's all PVC, right?
There's
Yeah.
there's a couple different types.
So
Poly.
there's ABS.
Okay.
There's gonna say there's poly, ABS, and PVC. We work mostly with ABS.
Okay.
The main there's both are great. Like you can use both for everything. the main appeal to ABS versus like PVC or poly is ABS is more sturdy and the glue's a little stronger. So like when you bond with the glue, you'll break the pipe before you break the fitting off the pipe when it's dried.
Okay.
And PVC is a little more brittle. So like you can work with it, but if you drop it or certain things like that, it'll shatter sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So you said you got sprayed by a skunk. Let's hear about that real quick. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that one that's a good embarrassing story for me. Is we were working on a job and they were trying to get their pond ready for a wedding, and their ponds like all they went from their well is what would spray from the fountain into their pond, and it would all cycle back through. It was all like clean system, and I climbed down in there. It's a big manhole. It's about 5 feet deep, and then once you get down into it, it's about 3 feet of like very narrow shaft. Like it's about like big enough for like you just to waist go through. You have to have your arms up and just you have to be lifted down essentially. Is my dad was lifting me by my hands,
Dang.
and I got about finally to the point where it opens up and I could see all the stuff I had to turn off so that way we could start working on it. And out of the corner of my eye, all I saw was black and white. I I didn't see much more than that before I started kind of wigging out. I'm about to the ground. Like my dad's just holding me by my hands, getting ready to drop me in, so that way I'm in there and can shut it off. And I start calmly at first. I started whispering to him. I was like, "There's a skunk in here. Pull me out. There's a skunk. Pull me out." And I don't know. To this day, I still can't say if it was for laughs or he really didn't believe me, or.
He did not pull
But
my
he let
ass
go of
out.
my. No, he actually let go of my hands.
Dang, so the skunk had fallen into the hole and it was just stuck down there, and when he saw you, he's like, I'm scared, and he
Yeah,
sprayed you.
that so he actually wasn't scared when I was getting lowered in. It was the moment my dad let go, I hit the ground,
Makes
which
sense.
made, a loud impact sound. And immediately, and I was in shorts and a tank top this day, and I got covered from my ankles to my chest,
Oh.
and I had him pull me out, and during the heat of the moment, I forgot the homeowners were inside just sitting on their couch, and I stripped down to nothing in their yard, freaking out.
Did it burn or
Got a
was it
good
just
swim in the pond.
rank?
It's like getting gasoline on you. It irritates your skin.
Okay.
And it almost dyes you yellow. Like my
Oh.
legs, from where it was direct contact the most, were like almost a Simpson yellow for a week.
Wow. Did you say you jumped in the
Damn.
pond?
I jumped in the pond after I got all nude in their yard, and his wife, bless her heart, ran out asking what was happening, making sure things were all fine, and she said she had some good dog shampoo.
She's like, these guys are either on acid or something bad happened.
Well, I think at first she probably thought that, but when you stepped outside,
Smell it.
it was instantaneous. You could smell it.
Yeah.
It wasn't hiding itself. And then a good funny one for you. You guys might have heard it. I won't name drop, but I'll say a close mutual friend of ours. Um, after Thanksgiving, they decided they wanted to get rid of all their Thanksgiving food, and they decided to put it down their garbage disposal. And you might have heard the story. If not, I'll message you guys after the fact and tell you who it was. But
But you know who you are. You better be
he
listening.
he shoved about it would be about 4 feet worth of turkey
Oh, bones or
into
just
his
meat?
garbage disposal. Meat everywhere from meat, cranberry sauce to stuffing. I don't know what was all in there for sure.
Oh man.
But I know he called us saying that his stuff was backing up and he couldn't get it to drain. So we came there and we couldn't get it to snake. And we were trying to figure out what the heck. And so we decided, well, how the house that he was in at the time was set up was we went into the crawl space and you could cut open that exact pipe and we could just pretty much drain it into a bucket. It was about in total about 5 feet of 2 inch pipe, so you could fit it in a 5 gallon bucket, whatever it was.
Nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's the first pipe I've ever cut into that didn't disgust me after the fact because it smelled like Thanksgiving dinner when all of a sudden you just see turkey falling into a bucket.
That's awesome. That's
Just
hilarious.
like packed tight in there, probably, huh?
It was literally like when it started to come out, it looked like a salami roll.
Oh,
Oh man, that's
But it smelled just like Thanksgiving.
wow.
that's crazy, dog.
I got a I
Just
got a
throwing
fun
it
one.
down the.
I got a fun one for you, Dylan. This March, so we had a flood here in Red Lodge, and the flood was it's like a 500-year
Mhm.
flood, and so we have a well that was bad aquifer, and so we couldn't drink out of it. It was just it's 30 feet deep, and they dug another well way deeper than that. But what was interesting, so in March, I went down to the crawl space of the bigger house. So there's two. There's an apartment and a bigger house. I went downstairs. There's a leak, and so I went to go turn the main water off. That was for both houses, and I turn it off,
Mhm.
and the water's still working in the big house, which is really weird. And then is that what happened? I might be getting confused. The water might have been working in my house still. I think the water was still working in my house. Anyways, I go to and so there's someone cleaning in the other house and she turns the water on in the big house as well, and then I just hear like so then I go into my place, I check on it. The water's working. I turn the water off in my place as well to shut it off water completely from both houses. And I hear a boom,
Mhm.
and then the water line ended up breaking from right in front of my place, and it was crazy. Like they had to dig 8 feet down into there. I think they put new poly pipe all the way from um, one side, like from the back and where the water heater is into the front. It was probably 25 feet, worth of pipe, and it was cool though. The tool they use, I forget what it's called, but they just like they attached the pipe to it and they dug it all the way out with the tractor and then they pulled it all the way back in with the tractor. It was really cool.
Hmm.
That's super
Yeah,
cool.
I don't.
Yeah,
The tool was cool.
I was gonna say we definitely have a lot of those kind of cool tools that make the job
Yeah, I
easy.
bet.
Like the one we got last year, it's called the Pro Press, and I mean you can crimp copper, we crimp black iron pipe. Like it's
Wow.
so it makes a lot of things a lot simpler now that we got
I
that.
bet. The tools they make nowadays, man, it's pretty sweet.
What do you crimp
No,
pipe
they definitely
for?
make it
What is
user friendly. So crimping is like if you're running, for
Damn.
example, like how I told you I do most of the water line.
Uh-huh.
So I have a tool, and they're little hand tools for what I use with water. And you'll crimp your pipes. Like if you were to look under most of your sinks, there's either compression or PEX type valves. If you have plastic and poly, like Skylar was saying, you'll most likely have a PEX valve in your wall, and what that is, it essentially crips your fittings together. It's like a tight ring that you'll tighten as hard as you kind of can, and it seals that plastic to the metal piece or plastic piece, whatever you kind of use for your fittings.
Okay.
And then the Pro Press itself, it'll essentially like with copper, it pinches the copper around. There's a gasket in the side of the fitting. It'll pinch it super tight so where that gasket will seal it. Same with gas type.
Okay. Cool. Nice, dude.
um,
Yeah, sounds
Just makes
like
it a little nicer than hand doing it.
yeah, man. Is there
sounds
anything
like
else you want to add about plumbing and maybe something someone should know? Yeah, just any last thoughts on being a plumber?
Um, Kind of, it's a simple job. It can definitely be a gross job depending on if you're doing more service work or if you're kind of sticking towards that end. But it's a great paying job. There's a lot of stuff to learn. You learn so much about excavation. You learn about like electric, like all the electricians work, all the HVAC guys work. You learn about how the framing is. You learn a lot more than just about the plumbing. You also get a lot of close connections with a lot of people because we're in there from, like I said, from the very beginning to almost the very end to when the homeowner's moving in, to where you get a lot of good relationships with people and kind of opens your doors and opens your eyes up to where you're like, hey, it might be gross on some ends, but it's pretty simple just to get into.
Yeah, it sounds like kind of a problem-solving job where you're presented with a puzzle or a problem, and you kind of get to work through it, and each one's a little bit different, and that sounds like something that kind of keeps you interested. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Very
I
much
worked with
so.
a guy, and he said, on jobs with him when I was in college and stuff. And he was like, think like water, you know. And it sounds like, I mean, everybody has to think like water when you're building a house: plumbers, contractors, electricians. So it's pretty cool.
You do. You got to be ready to go with the flow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Not everything's going to go how you originally
yeah.
thought.
For sure. On a last note, let's hear a little bit about you, Dylan. What's some of your hobbies, man? Things you like to do around the valley. Your girlfriend, if you want to share about her, or Parker, your dad. Just tell us a little bit
Well,
about you, man.
Well, a little bit about me is that, like I told my girlfriend when we first met, I'm kind of an adventurous nerd. I kind of got the best of both worlds. I love hunting, I love fishing and hiking around. I love being outdoors and doing as much as I can. I recently got a little Blackstone grill, so I've been grilling a lot, trying to get better at that.
Nice.
Camping all the time when it's available, when there's not snow, I should say.
Mhm.
But then, on the other end of the stick, like I said, I'm a nerd. I love playing Magic with my friends. I read a lot of mangas. I play quite a bit of games. Um, I kind of like to bounce between them both. I don't get to always fit them all in, but that's kind of the joys of having either going outside or staying in. You got an option for either.
Hell yeah.
I can relate with you so much to that, man. I feel the exact same way. I love the outdoors, but I love Magic. Magic the Gathering, for anybody wondering, and we're not casting spells on each other without cards that are from Magic the Gathering, I guess. But it's really fun. I enjoy that game. So
Yeah, man, and being outside, and while it's summer and enjoying it, and then once winter hits, we can't really do much other than, I guess you can go ski or snowmobile, but those are expensive hobbies, so you got to find some
I
other ways to.
I recently got into snowmobiling, and
Nice.
that one's really fun, but it's definitely one of those hobbies that you kind of checks your prices a little bit of how much you can do a year.
Totally.
it's true.
Hell yeah, man.
And you got to be safe, man, because I
It's
grew up snowmobiling. I know a lot of people who have died doing it. A lot of avalanches, and it's
It's one of those fun scaries.
yeah, exactly. It's fun, scary, and then when you need fun, not scary, that's when you break out the EDH deck and you play some Commander with your friends. So
Exactly.
Yeah, man. We feel that. Well, we really appreciate you coming on, Dylan. Thanks so much, man, and we'll chat with you guys
yeah, man,
soon.
I
Of
learned
course. Thanks for having me,
I
guys.
learned a lot about plumbing, dude, and you
Yeah,
kind of you kind of filled it up with a bunch of information, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So I appreciate your time and your knowledge on plumbing. It was really enjoyable and interesting. So
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for having me. I
for
appreciate
sure,
it.
brother.
yeah,
Look forward to when I get to see you guys
Yeah,
next.
man.
yeah, yeah. Do you want to do a little shout out to your dad's company?
Yeah, we're Swift Creek Plumbing, just right out of Star Valley. We work mainly in Star Valley. We kind of rarely venture out, but every now and again we kind of do. So
Yeah,
Sweet.
gas,
awesome.
plumbing, anything like that, give them a
And
call. So,
hydronic, and hydronic.
All right, y'all. We'll
hell
see you
yeah.
next time.